Chapter 247. Thea sighed and threw away the pen in her hand. She then sent away a department head who was pretending to be a reporter but was actually a loyal subordinate to her. There were a lot of problems during the transition between the old and the new. The old officials had to be appeased, and the new subordinates had to be treated with respect. Things like sabotaging each other happened in her office every day. The Eye of Horus could only judge good and evil, but the ancient view of good and evil was very different from the modern view. Many people who were considered bad in the ancient times were actually strong and tough in the Quinn group. Thea spent a lot of effort to identify these people and use them at key points. I seem to have forgotten something. Thea spun around in her chair and suddenly thought of something. Damn it! I forgot about Oliver. She had promised to bring him home, but it had been delayed for 3 months because of Diana. Was it too late? Of course it would be too late. Oliver must be working under Amanda as a secret agent, killing people everywhere. Based on his relationship with Amanda, it would not be difficult to get him back by paying the price. However, would Oliver, who was trapped in darkness, be able to see the light again without suffering in the future? Thea knew that Oliver was a cockroach. If she did not interfere with him, he would definitely be able to reach his former heights. Thea had gained a lot from the time travel, but there were still a few things that she needed to collect personally. First of all, there was Ninja Master's magic sword. According to Madame Jodo, this sword could absorb the magic power of the Isis talisman. For Sia, who lacked magic power, it was as important as sending charcoal in snowy weather. However, she had no idea where Nandarbat was. Malcolm had gone to Europe alone a month before she returned to Star City and did not leave any contact information. Batman and Talia also knew the address, but they might not be able to tell her since she was going to deal with their father-in-law. Ninja Master's boss was the demon of the 3 palaces. Thea shuddered at the thought of it. Although the demon was sealed, it was better to be safe than sorry. Superman, Diana, and the Flash had worked together to fight this guy, but they still could not break through his defense. With this kind of strength, he could probably fight Darkseid for a while. Thea really didn't think she could beat him. Another thing that would be of great help to him was the artificial intelligence hidden in the cutting-edge technology laboratory in Central City. Although Thea was now a magician, she had not forgotten about technological means. She was not that careless to steal things while wearing invisibility. Through the Court of Owls, they hired an unrelated assassin to scout the way. Thea saw the information of this female assassin named Elfra Stiller. It was unknown whether it was magically modified or a superpower, but the assassin held 2 daggers in her hands, and her hair could also control 2 daggers. Her influence data showed that this assassin had a mission completion rate of 100% and had never failed. Thea instructed the court to pay the deposit according to the agreement. The request was very simple. She only needed to investigate the laboratory. However, Thea still underestimated the reverse lightning from the 25th century. The assassin was discovered as soon as he entered the laboratory. The spectrometer, far-infrared, vibration-sensing floor, and various other systems rang loudly. In less than a minute, more than 10 guards with rifles appeared. The assassin was not bad. He was shot 3 times, but he managed to escape. He returned the deposit and refused to go back. She had underestimated the power of technology. The assassin's tragic experience was a blow to Thea's head. Now that she was relying more and more on magic, she had regained her respect for science. The various benefits of artificial intelligence made Thea unwilling to give up. The second time, she used Felicity's hacking skills to find a guard working in the laboratory. After subconsciously brainwashing him, she controlled him to go inside to scout for information. However, 3 hours after the guard entered the laboratory, he was detected to have abnormal mental fluctuations. Thea quickly activated his original personality and restored him to his normal values. After a series of checks, he was mistaken for being nervous and escaped death. Thea knew that she could not act rashly. There were too many people paying attention to the cutting-edge laboratory. Various consortiums, state governments, and the military had invested a lot of money in it. Even the Quinn Corporation had given a token amount of money. With so many people paying attention, reverse lightning would not be exposed easily, and she would not have a chance to act. Did she really have to wait until the particle accelerator exploded and only a few people were left in the cutting-edge laboratory? Thea shook her head. It was too long, and she was a little unwilling to wait. After careful consideration, it was still beneficial to be familiar with the plot. She set her sights on the important assistant of reverse lightning in the next few years, the bioengineering doctor, Caitlin Snow. Caitlin Snow did not enter the cutting-edge laboratory. Instead, she was teaching at Princeton. Thea was going to take a detour and apply for her postgraduate program. Then, she would sneak into the cutting-edge laboratory. The environment of Western society was very clear about personal identity. A billionaire could be a superhero, a prince could be a soldier, and naturally Thea could also be an intern. Originally, the school wanted to expel her because she did not report to school for a long time. However, when they heard that she was the president of the Quinn Corporation, they were speechless. A century-old school. Thea could only laugh. With her mind that had been transformed by divinity, she could graduate in half a year, get a master's degree in 1 year, and get a doctorate in 2 years. Having a doctorate title would subtly raise her social status. For example, Master Bruce, who was a peerless scholar, did not have a degree certificate. Even now, the media was scolding him for being ignorant and incompetent. Thinking about it, he felt wronged. Ninja Master was a long-term goal, and the cutting-edge laboratory was a medium-term goal. Thea's short-term goal was one. She wanted to make big news. She wanted to make news that could be seen by the whole world. Then, Diana would be able to see her no matter where she was on Earth. If I can't find you, I'll let you find me. However, it was not easy to make news that could reach the world. Her mother had just entered the political world, so it definitely could not be a scandal. She needed to do something very eye-catching. Thea quickly found something that met all the requirements, and it would definitely attract Diana. She wanted to rebuild the Temple of Artemis. It seemed easy to knock down and rebuild a pile of broken stones in the wilderness. With Thea's political power, it was not a big deal to build a temple in Turkey. However, her request was not that simple. She wanted to attract the attention of the world's media. Thea wanted to knock down and rebuild one of the 8 wonders of the world. She wanted to recreate the glory of this ancient building in its original place. She had to face the world's scholars, experts, and news media. The resistance of this matter was unimaginable. Thea's plan was to secretly send the Court of Owls to bribe the local parliamentarians and several think tanks around the president of Turkey. On the surface, she would use her identity to get the permission of the U.S. government. She had to make this big news in the shortest time possible. Chapter 248. Thea, you're crazy. Do you have a fever? To Thea, Felicity, who had not seen her for more than a year but had not seen her for at most 3 months, was furious. You want to demolish one of the 8 wonders of the world and rebuild it? It's such a big thing, and you're hoping that no one will talk about it on the internet. How is that possible? Felicity was so angry that she did not care that she was in the CEO's office. Aren't I discussing it with you? Thea also knew that this was a big deal. She was going to find a few confidants to discuss a rough plan, but she was met with strong opposition at the first step. It's impossible for no one to talk about it. You're going against the entire history of human civilization. Felicity couldn't understand why a smart person like Sia would do something so strenuous and unrewarding. She continued to blabber on and on. Thea was also wondering if this news was too big. But considering that she had automatically arrived at the temple through the time channel, it was self-evident what the goddess was thinking. In order to find Diana and complete the goddess task, the temple must be rebuilt. For humans, there was a lot of historical and cultural value here. For the goddess, this was her temple. You made it look like a wasteland, a place where birds don't shit and chickens don't lay eggs. It's okay if it's a wasteland, but you humans still organize tens of thousands of people to visit it every day. What's the meaning of this? Are you here to laugh at me? No matter how miserable I am, I can't let you laugh at me. Whether it was to attract Diana's attention or to save the goddess face, this temple must be demolished and rebuilt. Realizing that she had taken things for granted at first, Thea found Moira at night to talk about her idea. Rebuild the temple? Moira, who was reading a magazine, was stunned by her words. This was not within the business scope of the Quinn Group, was it? Thea looked at Moira's puzzled expression and knew that her words were a bit shocking. Normal people would definitely think that she was arrogant and frivolous. In order to gain Moira's trust and to pave the way for her to inject the divine blood in the future, Thea decided to show off a little. "Mom, look." Thea kept looking at the furnishings in the house and found Moira's scarf. "This is it." Transfiguration. A light green light flashed, and the originally still scarf seemed to be dragged by someone. It kept twisting and changing shape until it finally turned into a top hat. Thea waved her hand and put the hat in front of Moira, letting her personally judge its authenticity. Moira, who had lived for more than 40 years and believed that she had seen a lot, was really intimidated by her. At first, she thought that it was a magic trick. She held it in her hand and touched it again and again. Wow! It was indeed a hat. But how could it be? After a long while, he realized that this seemed to have something to do with today's topic. Moira chose her words carefully. "Is this power the reason why you want to build a temple? Will it harm your body?" As a mother, the first thing she thought of was not how powerful Thea was now. She only cared about whether her children were in danger. Thea did not dare to say too many things to Moira at once. Things like divine blood and divinity were too different from the worldview of ordinary people. Moira was just a nouveau riche president before, and now she was just a political newcomer. She was still far from the deep secrets of this world. She hugged Moira vigorously, and the mother and daughter slowly floated in the air. "Don't worry, Mom. Don't you think I'm getting healthier?" Oh? Flying had always been a dream of human beings. Although they were now indoors and could only float in a small area, Moira was still excited. As a businesswoman, Moira had a deep understanding of the principle of how much you get, so she personally felt this extraordinary power. She also began to think about Thea's big news plan. You can't show up. At most, after everything is settled, you can participate in some activities as an important investor, but you can't make the decision. Moira also realized that today's Thea was no longer her spoiled daughter. After thinking repeatedly, she said to her seriously, Thea had a headache. Moira and Felicity's meaning was similar, but they were all the same. Thea's own prestige was not enough. Even if the people of the world agreed, how could Thea do it? What's more, the people of the world would not agree. As long as this matter was revealed, condemnation in speech and writing would be light. Prestige. Where am I supposed to find prestige? Killing a god was awesome, but the people did not know about it. She could not hold a press conference with the Godslayer and say that this sword stabbed Ares to death. The whole world would think that she was crazy. If you have to build this temple, I suggest that you push the government to be the main body to facilitate this matter. Moira's suggestion was not complicated. The American government had done so many things that angered the world, so it would not be a problem to do a few more. The government's artillery had even blown up an ancient city in Iraq, so it would not be too much to pull down another temple. The conversation between the mother and daughter lasted until late into the night. Moira used her own intelligence network to outline a few high-ranking officials who could influence the government and a few members of parliament who were inclined to the Reformist Party for Thea. In fact, this matter had a wide range of influence, but in fact, it did not affect the interests of all parties. It was not worth mentioning compared to sending troops to war. Under Moira's advice, Thea finally took back her decision to dig the first shovel herself. She was ready to be a participant. After all, her purpose was to attract attention. But who should she give this glorious and difficult task to? It was not easy to find a spendthrift. This spendthrift had to have a certain social reputation and thick enough skin to withstand the fierce opposition of the media and the world's academic community. This is really difficult. The conversation between the mother and daughter had been going on for 3 days. Moira had begun a small-scale lobbying work. Thea was now in her office, sifting through the politicians who could be persuaded with Felicity. The Owl Court was not very helpful in this matter. Their connections in the outside world were limited. If they frequently used assassination and coercion to do things, they would definitely attract too much attention. This was not in line with Thea's initial position of the court. Miss Quinn, there's a Mr. Jim Gordon outside who wants to see you. He says he knows you, Just as Thea was frowning, her assistant outside the office interrupted her thoughts. Who? Gordon, the one from Gotham? Why is he looking for me? Thea asked for his face. It was not someone with the same name. It was indeed old Gordon. After all, they were comrades who had fought together. Thea and Felicity personally went out of the office to welcome him downstairs. Miss Thea. Old Gordon was travel-worn and his face was extremely pale. However, it was not convenient for him to say too much as there were people coming and going around. He reluctantly greeted her and entered the office with her. Thea waved her hand and asked her assistant to bring the coffee. She invited the old director to sit down. Seeing that he was hesitating, she had no choice but to start a conversation. How are Uncle Bruce and Barbara? It would have been better if she did not ask. The moment she asked, the old director's tears fell. Barbara, she's seriously injured. She can't make it.